It's a great privilege for me to welcome you, Your Excellency, and all our special guests this morning to the judiciary. We are extremely grateful that you found time to join us this morning to witness the presentation of the 2021-2022 edition of the annual State of the Judiciary and the Administration of Justice report, or SOJA as we call it. We are grateful to see so many of our partners returning to the launch of yet another edition of our annual report. I'm also elated to see quite a number of new faces as we forge new relationships with other organizations that share in our commitment to expand access to justice to the people of Kenya. I'm particularly honored to have Your Excellency, the President, as our chief guest. This is not the first time you're honoring us with your presence for this function, and we do not take it for granted.
Today happens to be, at least in my judgment, the second most important day in the judiciary. Second, after the days that we hear and determine cases and avail justice to justice seekers in the Republic of Kenya, and some from outside the Republic, because we are approached from all corners. Second, because it is the day that we come to obey the Constitution, to obey the statute that is the Judicial Service Act, where in Section 5 of that Act, we are called upon to give an account of what we have done in our year, gazette that account, and give it to the Speaker of the National Assembly to debate and strengthen that report. Now, the report is not just a report. It is an account of our accountability to the people of Kenya whom we serve. We are independent, but that independence means nothing if it is not accompanied with and by accountability. And so today, we come here to tell Kenyans that for the last 1 year that you have allowed us to serve you, this is what we did for Kenya. This is where we need improvement, and this is where we need your support. Secondly, the judiciary cannot succeed alone. The judiciary is as good as the people it serves, and it is as good as its partners. Now, the Constitution requires that the three arms of government, though furiously independent, are of necessity constructively interdependent. And that's where we connect with each other, where we are able to do one thing as the Constitution mandates that we do. The other arms of government come in as the Constitution requires them to do to support the discharge of the main item that we discharge from this end of the three arms of government, which is accessing justice to the people who pay our salaries. And it is such a primary concern that if it does not receive the support that it must receive from the other arms of government, we just cannot succeed.
On accountability mechanisms, it is important to report to Kenyans that we have rolled out robust accountability performance measurement and complaints handling mechanism in line with the constitutional mandate given to the judiciary, whereby we are supposed to be independent but at the same time accountable. It is notable that in November 2021, we invited the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to undertake a comprehensive judiciary systems audit. This systemic review of the policies, our procedures and practices of the judiciary will definitely identify the avenues and opportunities for unethical and corrupt practices so that the judiciary can work towards eliminating them. Regarding the worrying state of physical infrastructure, the judiciary has formulated a physical infrastructural Marshall Plan that targets to meet the contemporary justice demands by Kenyans. This, Your Excellency, includes a High Court building in counties without such courts, magistrate courts in constituencies without the courts, and 100 small claims courts. We also urgently need to put up a modern Supreme Court building to house the Supreme Court and the administrative headquarters of the judiciary. Your Excellency, we also need a Court of Appeal building to manage the expanded needs of the court and the Kenya Judiciary Academy. We thank Your Excellency for signaling that addressing these infrastructure concerns constitutes an integral part of your legacy. We will work with you to realize this dream that will revolutionize the delivery of justice in our country. The judiciary also made a conscious effort to create a workplace that is inclusive and reflective of the community in which we operate as demanded by the Constitution. Overall gender representation in the judiciary, Your Excellency, female to male, is at the ratio of 49 to 51, signifying compliance with the key constitutional imperatives. I expect you to clap for that, because judiciary is providing leadership. Those who are struggling to understand how to bring gender equality in their places of work, they can come for benchmarking in the judiciary. Significantly, Your Excellency, the judiciary believes in the vitality and promise of the youth. 71% of the judiciary employees are between the ages of 26 to 45 years. I and the Deputy Chief Justice are the oldest. We still have a long way to go, including getting judges of the High Court, the Environment and Land Court, Employment and Labor Relations Court in all the counties. We require magistrates sitting in all the sub-counties and adjudicators for our small claims courts across the whole country. The use of information and communication technology, which we have used to deepen the efficiency of our operations and the delivery of judicial service. We found technological innovations such as virtual courts, hearings to be not only cost-effective to litigants, but also an enabler to efficiency in the service delivery. We concluded the installation of in-court recording solutions in 5 courtrooms in Milimani, another one in Engineer Law Courts. We have also deployed 15 units of video conferencing solution system aimed at facilitating remote trials and cases involving parties or witnesses who are abroad. In addition, the judiciary, in partnership with the Ministry of ICT and Google Africa, connected 163 court stations to the national optic fiber backbone infrastructure, the one we call NOFBI. A further 12 remote court stations will be connected through mobile broadband. We remain acutely cognizant of the unequal access to technologies, limited internet access across the country, and lack of knowledge or ability to use technologies deployed. We are therefore developing strategies and innovations to mitigate the potential of digital exclusion. This includes the initiative to provide e-judiciary services through Huduma centers for members of the public who cannot access internet. Instead of them going to cyber cafes, they can go to the Huduma center and find a judiciary desk where they can do their filing or conduct their hearings.
And I want to assure our judicial officers seated here today in the Ruto administration, none of us, not the president, not I, not those below us, will ever take a telephone and ask you to determine a matter either way or another. That will not happen. And if you come across anybody purporting to speak for the president, tell them to get you something in writing, and they will not. And if they insist and they persist, look for me, then I'll sort it out. We must have an independent judiciary for our country because it is healthy. And I want to confirm here today that the president, our boss, in his wisdom, has placed the function of coordinating independent offices and constitutional commissions in my office, not for the purpose of interfering with whatever you do, but for the very purpose of providing a facilitative and supportive role to your work by intervening where you need intervention in the treasury and elsewhere in government, because the president wants the independent institutions to be facilitated and supported. And once we do that, I think we'll be able to have a good country that is managed by respect for the rule of law. For officers and us, under the president, for the avoidance of doubt. Because it's important, sometimes people make mistakes without knowing. I want to confirm to you that the president has directed that this country will be governed through strict compliance to the rule of law. And we want to advise officers that you shouldn't, under any circumstances, obey unlawful orders. And if you decide to obey them, you are on your own. There will be nobody to give you cover. This is a country that will be governed through the rule of law and strict compliance with the Constitution.
It is especially appropriate for the rest of us in other branches and levels of government to join in celebrating the judiciary and its leadership under the Chief Justice. Committee between governments and different branches is good. Ladies and gentlemen, cast your minds back to two of the most heated political controversies of the last few years: the general election and the Building Bridges initiative. Both times, after an open public hearing of the arguments on either side, the Supreme Court gave a considered ruling that won the acceptance even of those who did not assent. Quietly and almost unnoticed, the judiciary has become an exceptional solver of difficult public disputes. In a democratic country, not all disputes can be settled in court. There is and must be room for elections, for parliament's lawmaking, for executive discretion in administration, in short, for the proper separation of functions between branches of government. But where the judiciary has done well, we leaders in other branches of government must not be slow to commend you, and you also should not be slow to return the favor when the rest of us do well. Your Excellency, indeed, it's a pleasure to be here. I've not been a common visitor. Apart from the last election, I was very frequent here, and I made lasting relationships. So it's good to be here on a different mandate. But I want to mention, Your Excellency, two judgments that are not less important for being less well known than the decisions the Supreme Court has made in the presidential elections and the like. First is the High Court's ruling of 2013 that secured prisoners' rights to vote. And second, ruling in the same year, the ruling that blocked evictions in Mudurwa, right here in this county. Each time, the judiciary has protected and expanded the rights of the weak against the strong. These cases got nowhere near as much attention as those about national politics or high-stakes elections, but they have changed the lives of ordinary Kenyans in ways few institutions have managed. And there is much to celebrate, and we shouldn't forget that the judiciary is the first of the branches of the national government to be led by a woman. Let me ask you, to join me in appreciating and applauding the judiciary. Equally, Your Excellency, no institution is perfect, and we would be the falsest of friends if we didn't take this opportunity as well to suggest ways in which you could serve us better, Lady Justice. If we are going to do an even better job of protecting the rights of ordinary Kenyans than we have in the past, we will need to make access to justice much quicker and easier. The people of Nairobi, for instance, expect no less. In any case, it is one of our manifesto pledges. Let us work together to open more courts in Nairobi and seriously consider opening borough courts, which would ease the administration of justice. The backlog of cases needs to be addressed, and we ask for the appointment of more staff to handle matters more quickly. There are still unacceptable delays that cost ordinary people their time, their money, and their peace of mind.
I would like to thank the Honorable the Chief Justice and our team for a job well done in developing the report that is being launched today. Your Excellency, this report provides all actors in the justice sector, and indeed all citizens, the opportunity to evaluate the performance of the judiciary for the financial year under review. We will be able to take stock of the strides that have been made and the challenges that have been encountered in the realization of the judiciary's key mandate of ensuring access to justice. Such an open and transparent evaluation of the state of the judiciary and the administration of justice is critical in informing strategies and decisions for improved performance going into the future. Your Excellency, there is no doubt that much effort has been made towards building an independent and functioning judiciary in line with the requirements of our Constitution. Commitments for additional 3 billion shillings annually to the judiciary in the next 5 years is also a milestone within the period that is being reviewed. While more work remains to be done, these decisions will serve to guarantee the financial independence of the judiciary, which is a foundational element of the overall judicial independence. The decisions will also support the agenda of transforming the judiciary, including through the enhancement of the judiciary's infrastructural and human resource capacities. Judicial independence, like the independence of other arms of government, is a tool for serving and protecting the public interest. Therefore, regardless of the arms of governments in which we serve, we are collectively bound by the duty to serve the public. This collective duty makes us interdependent and requires of us collegiality, constructive checks and balances, and support for each other. Your Excellency, as a member of the Judicial Service Commission and principal legal advisor to the government, I have committed to serve as a link between the executive and the judiciary and to assist in ensuring that the two arms of government enjoy the cordial relations as they discharge their respective constitutional mandates without interference of each other's functions.
As late as the early 80s, access to justice in this country was a very difficult issue. I remember in late 1983, I was hired by a sitting MP then to go to Mandera to represent his constituent. Going to Mandera took me 2 days by road, and I appeared in a court presided over by a DC who had no knowledge of any law. And as I was cross-examining a witness, he cut me short and said, "Wakili, maliza haraka tufunge huyu mtu twende." That is how far Kenyans have come to now access modern processes of getting justice. So we come here today, Lady Chief Justice and the judiciary as a whole, to celebrate your week and to receive your report and place it before the House of Parliament, where it will be debated, and the other arm of government that I lead will pass some judgment on your report, on your performance, and that is how interdependent we must be. Today, as we celebrate this great day, I want to encourage the judiciary to remain studiously independent, For the last couple of years, bills and acts of parliament passed at Parliament have found their fate not too welcoming in the judiciary. You struck out many of them as being unconstitutional. And that is as it should be, because each arm of government must supplicate itself to the other. And whenever you make such decisions, it makes the legislature even more careful in ensuring that the laws they pass must be consistent with the Constitution and with the aspirations of the people of Kenya. So, Your Excellency, as we come here, I want to salute you for being consistent in declaring your desire and your government to support the judiciary unconditionally so that they can be able to dispense justice to the ordinary people.
It's my first occasion to be in the judiciary in my new role. I've been here before. I am alive to the fact that the judiciary has mechanisms to achieve accountability for the exercise of judicial power and for public resources entrusted to it. The outputs of the judicial ombudsman are tremendously enlightening. Particularly noteworthy is that beyond resolving complaints, the mechanisms investigates root causes to minimize recurrence. And I want to encourage Madam Chief Justice and the judicial system to improve on the judicial ombudsman's performance. The public and the other arms of government expect the judiciary to perform its duty with integrity. And it's my expectation, because judicial power and independence comes with huge responsibility. And huge responsibility comes with a good measure of accountability. And that is why to be able to exercise judicial power and independence effectively, responsibility and accountability must come with it. And I want to work with the judiciary, to support the judiciary, so that we can have an accountable and responsive judicial system. Integrity assurance and corruption prevention are essential pillars of remedial and corrective action. Likewise, the judiciary's performance management enhances staff accountability and guarantees service delivery to a high professional standard with assurance of continued improvement. Our friends in the opposition are telling us that we should continue to borrow and we should not raise our savings. I want to say, for the avoidance of doubt and on record, that already we have had conversations with the Central Organization of Trade Unions. We have consultations with the Federation of Kenya Employers, and we have all agreed, except the people in the opposition, that it is necessary to increase our contributions on savings from 200 shillings to 6% of our salaries. Our brothers and sisters in the opposition should wake up to this reality and smell the coffee. Kenyans are moving on. We want to raise our savings because at the moment we are between 10 and 12% of GDP in terms of savings. We can scale that up to between 30 and 40% of our GDP. That is the surest foundation of running our development program, not merely thinking that you can go on a borrowing spree. In any case, the money you go to borrow is the savings of others, and you have to pay through the nose if you have to borrow. We will support our security agencies to take up their mandate and protect and safeguard the sovereignty and the security of our country. And we will work with them to eliminate groups and sections that work against the Constitution and the law. I am very clear in my mind that we do not need the advice from the Scotland Yard to be able to remove and disband the murderous units in our police force. We didn't need any advice from nowhere. We just needed to respect our Constitution and do the right thing. I am very clear in my mind that supporting a professional police force will guarantee the lives of every Kenyan and the security of our property, and we will get rid of the menace of extrajudicial killings. We certainly don't need the support of institutions built by others. We can build our own institutions. Even those other institutions that we celebrate, be they the Scotland Yard or the FBI, they were built by countries who respect the rule of law and who believe in institutions. We should believe in ours. We should support our police force. We should support the Independent Police Oversight Authority. We should build our institutions. They will guarantee our security and they will guarantee our democracy. As we commit additional resources and financial independence of all our independent institutions, the judiciary, the police, and all the other institutions, we must all work collectively towards making sure that we have savings and we collect revenues that will support our development. I want to ask the judiciary to work with us and not to provide any safe haven for the people running away from paying tax. They should not find refuge in the judiciary. They should not find refuge in judicial orders. We want every citizen to carry their portion of the burden of running the affairs of our country. That is the request I am making to the judiciary, as I do to the legislature, that we must all work towards sealing the loopholes of pilferage and leakage in our revenue collection. I think it is important for us to note that as a percentage of GDP, we are collecting 14% of our GDP. Our neighbors are collecting 25% of our GDP. So we are lagging behind. And that is why we have shortage of resources to run our development program. I pledge our support to your vision of social transformation through access to justice, because it is our duty to do so, because we are aligned in our transformational agenda, and because we share a citizen-centric, bottom-up delivery model focused on individual and collective well-being of all the citizens of Kenya. For the avoidance of doubt, I reiterate my commitment and that of the government of Kenya to live up to our pledge to the people of Kenya that we intend to empower the judiciary and the criminal justice system as required by the Constitution, as well as respect the decisions and orders of the courts as they relate to the executive. Expect no more or no less. And even as we commit to the independence of the judiciary and to support the judiciary, give it financial independence, we do the same for all the other independent institutions.
In the old days when we were young practitioners, courts were studiously time conscious. 9 o'clock, if a lawyer or his client were not in court, the judges, the magistrates were seated there, and they would take a very dim view of a lawyer who comes late or a litigant who comes late. I want to encourage the judiciary that we keep to that tradition so that members of the public who seek justice don't come and stand in the corridors of the courts for too long. I can see now you are digital. Even though the digital platform, if we observe time, will save a lot of other issues for Kenyans. Allow me to finish by once again saluting our judiciary for coming of age and for making milestone decisions in many, many disputes between citizens and the state, not to mention politicians versus politicians. And now we have come to a level where even those who don't agree with what you say are respecting what you say. And that is the Kenya we want, and that's the Kenya we must have.